Hi friends, it's Sarah, the owner and maker behind Multifarious Nature. Thank you so much for joining me today. You get to view my hands today. This is a different view. So, first day of Advent with MellyKnits Advent. I'm sure you can hear the wind. It is unbelievably windy today. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Hopefully we'll be able to see everything okay. This is my first time recording like this. So, exciting and nerve-wracking all at the same time. So this is my drum carter. My husband built this for me. It's really good at making bats. Let me just say that. It's really good at making bats. It has not been cleaned. I did not clean it between. Normally I clean it between every type of bats that I make. I didn't clean it for this because I'm just going to go to town each day for the Advent, for MellyKnits Advent. I am doing the Great Guts Adventure. And I was going to show you guys that. Really cute artwork that came with it. It is the Great Guts Adventure, and it is a 12-day Advent. Again, from MellyKnits. And it came with this beautiful bag. Not a spoiler, it's at the top of the package when you open it. It's really cool. It's by Tokyo Bags. It is like really durable paper. It's paper, and it's really cool. So it's supposed to kind of be like leather as you use it. It'll have interesting wear and everything. So that's the first thing I opened. And then my little package, I did open the first day. So the way I'm going to do this is, I did already, you can kind of see some of it, maybe not, some of the fluff. So the first day is Corriedale Yearling. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Hopefully you can. And it is by Wellman family Corriedales in Colorado with 5 grams of baby Camel down. So I'm going to show you guys how I prep this, and it's to each their own little adventure here. I will kind of go and figure out how I'm going to do this as I go. This is my first one, so bear with me. I was going to show you guys the lock of one of the locks first. You can see this beautiful crimp structure. This is a Corriedale Yearling fleece. It's really pretty. It actually has very similar coloring to some CVM that I've dealt with in the past, which is pretty cool. And just really beautiful lock structure. Again, see that crimp? Very pretty. Not a lot of VM in this. There is some. So the Great Guts Adventure is it's hand washed, but it hasn't been processed at all other than that. So it came like this. Let me find my little chunk that I haven't opened. Here we go. So it's like this. So you get your 20 grams of the wool, and then there'll be a 5 gram add-in. So this is the 20 grams of wool. And so all I do is I'm taking it and opening it up like this, and then I put it into a pile. And that's what this massive chunk is right here, 20 grams. It's probably a little over 20. Because again, she's accounting for that VM. You're going to get a little bit of a tax from that. And you can see there's even VM falling out of this. It's very fine VM. So I did the majority of it already plucked, because it takes a little bit of time to do this, to do all this opening up of the locks. And then you pluck out any little second cuts, little bits of VM if you can. If it's teeny tiny VM, it's not the end of the world. But you do try to get the majority of it picked out. That's the goal. And yeah, if you just kind of go through, you look for these little tidbits. I don't tend to nitpick too much on my wool. I kind of like having a little VM in there. To each their own. It kind of ties it to the, the sheep. It ties it to the animal being on pasture. And that's kind of, that's pretty special. So I like those little things. And while you're spinning it, you get to pull even more VM out. So I'm being very gentle, but I am pulling it apart. So as you can see, it becomes this beautiful cloud, and there is some VM on here. I don't know if you can see that very well. I would zoom in further, but I don't really want to make anybody sick. And that could be a tricky thing. I'd have to mess with my camera a little bit, but at least you can probably see most of it here. And yeah, that's what that looks like. So now I've got my beautiful 20 grams of fluff here, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And then here is the camel. Super pretty. So this is already prepped. This looks like it is like top, so it's nice and prepped, which is really nice. Otherwise, I probably would have hand carded this first before I blended it. But because this is so nicely prepped, I think what I'm going to do is put some of the fluffy Corriedale down, put a little bit of this directly. I'm probably going to take this and put it directly onto the carder. It's very soft. It does not have any real give to it. It moves very easily. So I'll probably just add it directly to the carder, add more Corriedale, and then run it through again. So I'll show you how I do all of that. I'm very fancy with my tools. I use a screwdriver because I don't have an actual doffer for taking this off properly. So I use that. And I also like to use this, which is for it's like for hand looms crochet. I use this to help get the extra wool off. So you'll see all of that in this process. Okay, so we're going to turn on the carder, make sure it's going in the correct direction. I'm going to turn on nice and slow. It's pretty quiet, which is really nice. So I'm just going to put it on a pretty slow setting, and we're just going to slowly feed some in. And I'm going to just open it up pretty wide. And I think, especially for the first pass, I'm going to try to spread this out as far as possible. That way I can really get a nice layer of the Corriedale down. And then if I see any other little bits in here, little second cuts, I'll grab them as I see them. But this is a really nice fleece. Really, really nice. So I'm kind of just eyeballing this. When I get about, I would say, a quarter-ish of it. Now I'm going to add in some of Camel. So you really want to put down a base layer, especially of your base wool, before you put such a fine additive. This is really fine, like super fine. I'm just going to pull a little chunk so you can see that. Super, super fine, very light. You don't want to feed this necessarily into the carder. You probably could, but there is a lot of risk of it getting picked up by this liquor, the liquor in, and I don't really want that to happen. So I'm going to try to get as much of this on the actual drum itself. I'm going to go ahead and take this smaller batch as my little test sample, this little bitty amount, so I can test it. And I hope you can see that. I am just directly adding this, and it is super easy to add. It is just slipping and sliding right off onto there. Super nice. Wow, that was quite pleasant. I'm going to continue working in very small amounts because there is that risk of just adding a bunch at a time, and I don't want that. I want it to be nice and evenly blended throughout because we're not trying to create like super textured bats. I'd like to have it as combined and evenly covered as possible. So I'm just gonna go back and forth. Again, I'm learning with you guys. This is my first time ever working with Camel. It's very, very soft. Quite nice to add in here. And actually, it's my first time working with Corriedale too. I haven't worked with Corriedale, so excited about that as well. At least I don't think so. I might have spun Corriedale, but I've never put it onto a drum carder. All right, so that's a decent amount added. So I'm going to go ahead and now add more of my Corriedale down. Again, you want to spread it out so it covers across the entirety of your drum carder, so you can get a nice even amount covering it. And if you have any of that where it kind of like, you can see where it's almost getting kind of fuzzy looking, you need to compact it. I don't have a brush attached to this yet. That is something that I would love to have. So I'm actually going to use this brush that my husband gave me. And you know what? I'm going to try to turn this light up a little bit. Hopefully I don't blast you guys. There we go. I just think it's getting so dark outside. It's becoming problematic. But we're going to compress this down And this is just compacting it into here so that we can keep layering nicely onto our drum carder, because I don't want a bunch to get stuck on my liquor in. So far, it is getting pulled up onto here, which it should. Again, just keep compressing that in. And this is just a little brush, so it's stiff bristles, but it's really great for compacting that in there. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more of our Corriedale. Really want to get a nice layer of Corriedale in here. Love to hear what you guys are up to. Did you guys get any advents this year? Love to know if you're working on any. It's a lot of fun. Hope you're enjoying this. As I kind of fuddle through it, I do really enjoy making bats. This is something that I do for my small business as well, but this is an advent that I purchased from another small business. So here we go. Okay, so that's getting pulled up on there. We're going to compact that down. Really want to make sure that gets nice and compacted, especially since we're going to be adding more of that camel again. So get that nice and in there so that you get some decent tooth to grab more of your camel. All right. I was debating whether I was going to keep a lock of this undone, but I think I'm just going to combine it. Okay, so now we're going to take this again. I'm just going to kind of open it slightly and just start adding it in and go completely across. That way, hopefully, it gets pretty evenly distributed. This is a beautiful shine to it as well. It's kind of a, let's say it's kind of a camel color. It is kind of a camel color. It's actually camel. There we go. All right, so we're working this across, again, as evenly as I can. But that's kind of the beauty of hand processed, is that there's always that little bit of variation because it's hand done, which is part of the beauty of it. It's part of the reason I love hand processed. So we're gonna get this on here. Getting down to the end of our Corriedale here. Again, you really want to try to open it up so it's pretty thin when it goes onto your drum carder, as thin as you can. That way it really gets distributed nicely across it. And this is going to be such a beautiful color to work with too, because it's got this gorgeous natural variegation to the color. Hopefully you're working on a fun project as you're watching this. Or maybe you're like me and you just get enamored by watching the beautiful wool go on here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the last of my camel, and then we'll go ahead and do the last of the Corriedale. It's just a touch of Corriedale left. And I'm going to try to compress this a little bit more to really make sure it's in there. I'm very impressed by the prep. The wash of the fleece is really nice. The camel is beautiful. I would love to know where she gets it from. It's really very soft and beautiful color. Nice prep as well. Whoever prepped the camel. Okay, I'm getting that on here. And we'll see how this goes, guys. My goal would be to record every single day, but I don't think that's going to happen. So these will be released periodically and hopefully a nice semi-reasonable amount of time. But as you can see, this video is probably going to go live after the 1st of December because I don't want to ruin the surprise for anybody if you're running behind or anything. So I was a little aggressive in that one spot. 2 spots. As you can see, there's quite a bit of camel that got stuck there. You can just kind of grab your excess and it pulls right off because it's so silky smooth. I'm probably getting Camel all over my wool room here. All right. So, getting that last bit of Camel, and then I am going to put that last touch of Corriedale on here, and then we'll run it through at least one more time, if not 3 times. I may do 3 times just because I want to try to get this as blended as possible. Okay. So there's just this touch, this teensy tiny bit of Corriedale left. And I'm just going to try to open this up and really, just like I said, spread it across so you get a little bit of that Corriedale all down the line. And should be going right on there nicely. There we go. This is the last bit. We're just going to compact that down. And we're going to take it off. I'll show you how I do that. So I'm going to turn mine off. Well, there's a little tidbit I missed. All right. Okay, so we're going to reverse our drum. And I always like to try to get my opening as low down here as possible. I guess everybody's a little different, but that's how I do it. Because I tend to work sometimes with shorter fibers. I want to make sure that I get a semi-nice break right here. And then just kind of go down like this, pull up and off. Okay, there is that. All right, and then we're going to take this off. And as I mentioned, I use this little, like I said, it's for looms. Like when you're knitting with those little looms. I don't remember what they're exactly called, but they're a little loom. And I just go through with this, and it picks up those little extra bits. And then I just pull back the rest of the way. A little bit of debris that got on here, but for the most part, it's pretty darn good. So this is a pretty thin bat right now. As I mentioned, I'm going to run this through at least 1, if not 2 more times. And I can start compacting, like making the bat narrower and more blended as I go. But I'll probably do that like the last pass. I don't know. We'll see what I'm feeling, but I think that will be. I really like the color change here, though. I would like to keep that different if I can, and there will always be a little of that because it's such a beautifully variegated fleece. I don't think it's going to become like solidly blended unless I do a lot of blending. At least from my experience with fleeces like that. Tends to keep itself a little bit separated no matter what. Unless you do like tons. Oh, look, a little piece of mohair. I'm working on bats with mohair. For those of you that are new, I have been working on bats with mohair, and because this is for me and I don't mind if it has a little bit of something else in there, I just left it for this time around. Normally I would clean all that off, but I didn't mind if I had a little touch of mohair here and there. It's kind of fun. All right. So, get that last little bit here. Pull that off. All right. That is our first pass. As you can see, there's definitely some differentiation going on here. Not a lot of blending. You can see the camel is definitely still semi-separated. So what I do from this point, I usually divide it in half and then divide it in half again. So I divide it into quarters and I just do it lengthwise like this. And pull that down. Okay, so we're gonna have 4 essentially like roving things going on like that. And then what I do is I spread this out super thin. and I refeed it in. So that's one way to do it. Another way would be like taking chunks of it and separating it out and feeding it in. It's not exactly a wrong way to do this. It's however you want to do it. This is how I do it. So I'm going to start this going again. I could go a little bit faster if I wanted, but I think I'm going to keep it kind of slow. This Corriedale is quite beautiful and quite fine, so I don't really want to be too aggressive with it. Alright, so I'm going to feed this in and kind of open it up. Like I said, I try to spread it across a little bit, but I also want to kind of feed it in a little bit more narrow. I don't think I want to go all the way across like I did the first pass. So I think I'm going to start feeding it in part way, and we'll see how that looks. So what I'm going to do is actually start to pre-draft this a little bit. That way it narrows it, and then we'll put this through. And as this feeds on, again, we pre-drafted the whole thing, so it'll feed pretty quickly. It should hopefully blend really nicely. See how that liquor-in kind of grabbed this Camel off? So that's the thing. The Camel is so fine and so soft that this liquor-in is going to want to grab it because it's short, very short staple length, and that's kind of what that tends to do. And I don't really want that, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of keep watching it as I see some get grabbed. Yeah, you can see there's like a ton of it right there. I got grabbed. That was semi-tricky. That might have been a learning curve fail for myself. But to get it nice and blended, you have to pass it through multiple times. So I think this is just going to be that kind of weird learning curve where I'm going to have to keep going back and forth and grabbing the Camel and re-adding it. Some of it did get pulled up in here, but you can see some of it did not. And so I want to make sure that it gets up on there. I think we might stick with just 2 passes. I was going to do 3, but I might stick with 2 just because of this Camel, because I don't want to lose that. And quite a bit of it is getting stuck in here. Now, some of this is mohair. Actually, a lot of this is mohair. A lot of it's mohair. Again, soft, beautiful additive, and it's it gets stuck in here. So the Camel really is kind of getting stuck on the top layer. You can see that, the short, super soft bits. So it's not bad. It's not too bad, you guys. All right, we're gonna go through. I'm really curious if we're gonna have possum or something really strange in this advent. I think that'd be really cool. I don't know. I'm excited to hear about the lure as we go through the advent. Melly does, or Melissa, she does advent lure videos, which are really fun. Kind of talks about some of the ins and outs that she goes through when she's making the advent and sourcing the wool and everything. So I'm excited about that. Okay. Continuing to feed this through here. And again, if I see anything weird, I can pull it. A little bit more Camel got pulled. That's a nice big chunk of Camel. You can also, by pushing like this with your brush, it'll help hopefully keep the softer fiber like a Camel or short staple length from getting grabbed back onto the liquor-in, and hopefully it'll get compressed. But okay. Beautiful. All right, next, 2 more of these will get fed through. Okay, and again, just open this up, feed it in. So pretty. It's so soft. Corriedale is quite soft. I think I've worked with Corriedale before that's been like on something carded, but my goodness, is it soft. It is a yearling fleece, so that's a very young, young sheep. So these were some of those big chunks when I was adding it that got on there. So there's going to be a little bit of funniness going on, funny business. But I think this would be a lot more blended than that first round. So it'd be pretty good. There's a little bit of camel in here. Ooh, there's a lot of camel in here. Ooh, look at all that camel. So soft, but it's a bit of a pain in the booty because it really likes to get grabbed by the liquor in. It's a bit of a pain. So I'm not a big fan of refeeding this in here, but for those of you that are expert carders or someone who's done this a lot, I would be very interested in hearing how you would approach this. Like if you would have added it directly to the drum, you know, like what you would do for your method. I'm still learning. So what I'm finding by doing it this way is it does seem to want to grab it onto that liquor in, and that's a bit of a pain, but sometimes that stuff is it's just not avoidable to an extent. I do see I'm still getting a nice differentiation of color here, which I love. It would create some pretty interesting yarn. There's a nice chunk of Corriedale. So of course, the more that you're feeding to one area, you really need to keep compacting it. Otherwise, you're going to get more that gets sucked up onto your liquor in. It's a super soft brush, though, compared to like holding a metal bristle brush to this. All right, and then let's see if I want to try to save some of this. I'm being overly precious with this wool. I really shouldn't be, but I just really want to use it all for the most I can. Okay, and there's some more camel. I think the rest of this is mostly mohair. There's a little bit of camel in here. It probably can't be avoided having a little bit of fallout. Okay. So again, I'm going to get this to that point where I got my divider here. And I'm just going to take this off. Now, as you can see, this is much thicker, so it's taking a lot more effort to get it off. So if you run into that kind of thing, sorry about the noise, you can go through small chunks like this and then pull up. And that's a lot easier when it gets thick like that to be able to really separate it nicely. Okay. And I'm just going to take this off now. And I'll use my little hook to kind of go through it. And carefully take it off because I don't think I'm going to run this through again. We'll see. When I get it off, then I'll evaluate from there and see what I want to do. It's very, very, very soft. A combination of that Yearling Corriedale and then that beautiful Camel. Oh my goodness, it's so stinking soft. Okay. It's just beautiful. I have a terrible habit of trying to grip with my fingers. This is very pointy, and I poke under my nails constantly. Don't recommend doing that. If you are like that, get yourself this little tool. It's super inexpensive. I found these at the thrift store. I got some from an aunt because she was not going to be crocheting anymore, and I just have tons of these. So they're very inexpensive. Save your fingers. Get one of these things and stop doing the terrible habit that I do of shoving my finger down into this because it's just not very friendly and it hurts. It's a really good way to get an infection too. All right. So, get that last bit off. Oh, look at that. We are getting there, you guys. That looks really nice. So this is mohair. This like very definitive hair is a mohair. But that looks really nice. I am debating running it through a third time. I just don't know. Should I run it through a third time? Should I? I might. Oh. There is still that like little bit of definition going on here, which I don't know. It's up to you. Kind of like choose your own adventure. This would be okay for me. Like I would spin from this, no problem. You can put it through again. It will blend it more. This will help it have a little bit of differentiation in the coloring. I feel like if I run it through one more time, it's going to blend it a lot. And I really like to have that bit of differentiation going on. So that like variegation that you see going on here, where it's kind of like the darks and the lights and the mediums. I really like that it has that, and I don't want to lose that. So I think I'm going to stop here, actually, after 2 passes. I'm not going to do a third. Everybody's different. But yeah, we're going to stick with this. And the way I would work with this is you can strip it into, like I did before, like strip it 4 ways and work from that. That is probably what I will do when I spin it, is I'll do that. I'll strip it into quarters and then I'll just spin down the length of it. There's so many ways you could do this. You could take it off of your drum carder and make like Rolex out of it. There's so many options here. But what I'm going to do in the interim is I'm just going to take this, roll it up like so, and put it into my day 1 bag so that it is ready to go. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm actually recording this at the day before American Thanksgiving. So I am actually I am preparing this in advance. But okay, my plan was to put it in my bag. That might not happen. So I'll probably just put this back. But there you go. There is day 1 of MellyKnits Great Guts Adventure with the Corriedale Yearling and baby Camel down. 2 passes on my drum carder. I don't know if I mentioned, this is 120 and 90 teeth count on here, in case you were curious. And yeah, I think that's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. And please make sure you subscribe if you're interested in this and other content regarding woolly goodness. And I look forward to chatting with you guys and showing you the upcoming next days of the Advent. Take care. Bye.